What's going on, everybody? It's GameUnboxingReviews here, and welcome back to another LEGO Marvels Avengers video. Now, in this video, I'm not going to be talking about any news or any screenshots or anything like that, sadly, because we still have nothing. I know we all really want to see something, especially me. This is one of my most anticipated games this year, and I really hope we hear something. But sadly, I don't have anything yet. Now, this video is actually all based upon this interesting tweet from Arthur Parsons, but I'll talk about that more in a minute because it's pretty interesting. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so I'm just going to make this pretty quick because, of course, this is just an introduction to the video. Now, what this user said on Twitter is the new LEGO Avengers going to be just the 2 Avengers movies or all of Phase 1 and Phase 2 movies? Now, basically, what they mean here is, will the game just have Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron content, or will we get to play through things like Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, Thor, and maybe even Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man? Arthur actually replied to this, which I was quite shocked by because, you know, he does reply to a lot of tweets, and you've got to give it to him because that is just great. Even though they can't really talk about much about this game yet, it's really nice to see he tries his hardest to reply to as much as possible. But of course, sometimes you can't reply to everything because sometimes, you know, you're not allowed to say if that thing is in the game or not. But Arthur actually said you'll have to wait and see, winky face. Now, what I think is important here is he didn't say no, and that's what's really interesting to me. And also, he says you wait and see. Are we going to see like a new press release for the game where it's going to talk about more details? Because if you remember, in the press release for this game, it says you get to play through Avengers, Avengers Age of Ultron, and more. It says and more. What does that and more mean? I have no idea, but it's very possible that we could see more content from other movies. Plus, another thing you have to think about is if this game is just Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, it's not going to be a very big game, you know, and LEGO games are getting bigger and bigger by every year, you know. 150 characters was in LEGO Batman 3 Beyond Gotham, then they added DLC, and I think it got up to around 200. So you've got to think that they're going to step up their game this time round and maybe even past 200. I'm not sure if that's possible, but it would be cool. Anyway, this video is going to be me talking about what I think would make a great mission for each MCU movie. And first up is, of course, the very first Marvel Cinematic Universe movie that started this entire universe. So, here it is. Alright, so for Iron Man, I actually have 3 ideas in mind. Yes, I actually thought of quite a few ideas. After rewatching it, you know, and doing research on the movie and things, I just thought of so many cool ideas. I was just like, these need to be in the game. But I cut it down to 3 ideas because I think that's fair. And basically, what I think in the actual game is, I think each movie deserves 1 mission each. Just 1 mission that has, you know, that allows you to recreate an awesome scene from the movie. That way it's fair. I mean, if they give us more for each movie, yes, that is awesome. But for now, I think you should just stick to 1 mission each. Anyway, now on to the actual idea. So the first idea I have is probably the idea I would like to see most, is the Mark 1 scene. You know, the Mark 1 scene was really cool and was just one of my favorite parts of the movie because you just see Tony Stark really embrace the name Iron Man. So anyway, like we see in the picture, in the movie we see Jensen suiting Tony up, and basically he looks at a laptop and he sees the bars going really slow because, of course, the technology they have in that cave, the one that, you know, the 10 rings have held Tony hostage in, it has extremely limited technology. So yeah, they're really trying hard to escape to the best of their ability. Anyway, when Jensen looks at the computer, you know, he says, we haven't got enough time, I'm gonna go buy you some time. And he picks up a gun, he shoots everything, and, you know, I think he gets captured pretty quickly. But I think it would be really cool if, instead of just saying, I'm gonna go buy you some time, instead of just showing that in a cutscene, why not let us do it? You know, I know it would be really short, but being able to play as Jensen just to go buy Tony some time would be really cool. And it's kind of similar, the way I got this idea was in the LEGO Batman 3 Beyond Gotham Dark Knight DLC pack. You actually got to play as Heath Ledger's Joker and a Joker goon before playing as Batman and Commissioner Gordon, and I loved that. You know, that was really cool. So if we get to do that, like, similar thing with Tony and then Jensen and Tony, that'd be awesome. And then, of course, when Jensen's captured, we would see the scene just like the movie where it's 100% bar, Tony gets out, and, you know, he's Iron Man. He's finally Iron Man, and we see him doing all that good stuff. Now, in the game, basically, just the same thing. You know, you'd be in the cave, you'd be suit up, and then there'd be enemies to fight and things to build, and maybe the stuff to hack as well. I think that'd be really cool. This mission would really allow you to explore that scene in the movie. Like, I would love to walk around the cave and see what there is. Obviously, it's a mission, so it's not free roam, but just allowing them to explore that even more would be really nice. And then, of course, once you're out the cave, you go outside and you have to burn all the Stark Industries weaponry. Tony is not happy that they have stolen all his weapons. So what better thing to do than just blow them all up? And that would be the objective, blow up all the Stark Industries weapons. And then I guess you could maybe, defeat all the enemies as well. Now, you're probably thinking, but Ben, that's the end of the scene in the movie. Tony flies off and then he says, not bad, and that's pretty much it. And then we see Tony, get saved by, I think, Rhodey? I think he's the one that finds them. But what I think would be really cool is basically, if you look at the Iron Man 1 video game, I know it's not the best video game in the world, but, you actually get to play through that scene from the movie, the Mark 1 scene, and it's a decent length, it's a decent length mission, so I think TT Games should definitely look at that mission in particular, just to get a rough idea of how you could expand that scene from the film. Okay, so now we're on to the second idea for Iron Man. Don't worry, I'll be getting on to the other phase movies right after the next one after this, because just Iron Man's such a good movie, and it just made me think of tons of ideas. So yeah, I thought I would share them. So basically, this one's pretty short, but I just love this scene in the movie because it shows off one of my favorite suits, and I'm not kidding, honestly. I love the Mark II so much. Maybe it's just the color of it. I don't know. I mean, I just like how it's not painted, It's not that it looks like War Machine or anything like that. I just really like that suit. But don't get me wrong, I love War Machine. He is awesome. So basically, this scene in the movie, I think it'd just be really cool if it starts off, and obviously in the movie we see Tony just suiting up in the Mark II. But I think it'd be really cool if the mission starts and you're Tony, and then you actually have to maybe I don't know, like hack Jarvis. Instead of hacking, you're actually kind of logging into your computer sort of thing. And then, it suits up, it sets up the suit up. And then you stand on the platform and then you actually get to watch the suit up happen. That would be really cool. And then, of course, you fly out and you're flying around. Now, once you get outside, I think, it's a video game. So why not have like some rings you got to fly in and stuff like that? And basically going off what you see in the the Iron Man official game, like I said about Mark 1. Again, not the best game in the world, but it did have these scenes in the movies. And, it did a good job of expanding them, making them longer, making them into an actual mission in game. So in that mission in that game, we see Tony fighting and things. I don't think that it should have that, because he didn't do that in the scene in the movie. He never fought anyone when he was using the Mark II at all. I mean, that was probably just because it added to the game, but for the actual mission, I think he should just fly around. If he does fight enemies, I won't be bothered. It'll actually be pretty cool. But, if you want to be true to the movie, it should just be a whole mission about flying around, flying through rings, really testing the suit. And then, of course, at the end, you fly up into, you try to fly to space, and then you freeze and you've got to break the ice. That type of thing would be pretty cool. Alright, so last but not least for Iron Man 1, we have, of course, this scene, which is Ironmonger versus Iron Man. This scene was just awesome. I mean, they were flying all over the place and everything. It was just great, so I could not leave it out. Now, one of the main reasons I think is great about this mission is it's an excuse. It's a great excuse to add Obadiah Stane to the game. You complete the mission, you unlock Obadiah, and then once you pay for him, with the studs, of course, that you've got in-game, you unlock him and you can suit up as Ironmonger. That'd just be really cool. Plus, imagine all these missions in free play. I mean, imagine replaying this mission with where you fight Obadiah, but Tony is in the Hulkbuster suit. Or maybe you play as Hulk and you do this mission. All these types of free play possibilities are really what will make LEGO Marvels Avengers stand out from most Marvel games. Being able to replay these amazing scenes from these amazing movies as multiple characters would just be awesome. So hopefully they do that, because it'd just be really cool. Now, there was one other idea I had where, where Tony goes, I can't remember where it is, but he goes down where he sees on the news there's some really bad things happening, and he goes down and, it's that whole scene where he walks away from the explosion. They could do that as well. I think that'd be a pretty cool mission, but these were just my personal favorite choices. But if you have any ideas, like some things that I might have missed out on from this movie, please let me know in the comments, because I'd be really interested to know. Now we are on to The Incredible Hulk. Now, I know a lot of people who don't really like this movie. I've heard a lot of people think this is one of the worst MCU movies. Personally, I really like it. Honestly, I think Phase 1 had some great movies, and this is one of them. This is a really good movie. I think Edward Norton did great as Bruce Banner. I don't think I could see his Bruce Banner along with the Avengers. I know it's supposed to be the same character, but I just couldn't see Edward Norton with the Avengers. But for what it is, this is a great movie, and I love it. But there are some good scenes in it. There's the scene where Hulk Banner gets locked into, I think it's a museum. Is it a museum or something? No, it's like it's a school or something, and then there's like gas gets thrown in, and then it makes him Hulk out, and he jumps out, and then he fights all the military. That would be a really cool scene. But the scene I would like to see the most in game is this, and it is of course Hulk versus Abomination. That scene was awesome. I mean, you see Hulk do the famous like car boxing glove, like from the video games, like Hulk Ultimate Destruction. When he did that in the movie, my jaw just dropped. I mean, that was like seeing what happened in the video game come to life, and it was just so cool. He just beats on Abomination. There was so many cool scenes in that part of the movie, and I just love it. So being able to fight Abomination as Hulk would be great. Also, another thing about the Hulk is, in the first game, I noticed, Hulk is really bright green. It's not really movie accurate, it's more just a Hulk. But now in the actual LEGO Marvels Avengers sets, the green is actually pretty accurate. So what I think would be really nice is, with Hulk in this game, all they got to do, since you do play through Avengers and Age of Ultron, all they have to do is give us the same Hulk that we get with the LEGO Age of Ultron sets, but with different pants. That's pretty much it. I mean, that would be perfect, and to be honest, they could still include the classic Hulk, but I would much rather have the movie one more, because it just looks way better in my opinion. Next up, we are back to Iron Man, and I actually have 3 ideas for this movie as well. I know you can probably tell I'm a massive Iron Man fan, because you're probably thinking, well, Ben, why didn't you think of 3 ideas for each other movie? I tried, but I think I just love Iron Man the most. I mean, Iron Man is my favorite Avengers, so that's probably why I'm thinking of more ideas for that. But I am trying to think of cool ideas for all the other characters, because they're all awesome. I love all the movies, but I'm really trying hard. So basically, this is one of my personal favorite scenes in Iron Man 2. Now, I know not many people like Iron Man 2. I hear a lot of complaints from it, and that's fine. It's not the perfect film, but it does have some damn good scenes in it, in my opinion. And one scene in particular is what we see here, and it's when Tony suits up in the Mark V. First off, suiting up is awesome. And when you see it in that part of the film, my jaw dropped. Just like when I saw Hulk use the boxing gloves, the car boxing gloves. When I saw Tony suit up in the Mark V, my jaw just dropped. It's just such a cool scene. And then, he's fighting Whiplash on the race course. You could even make this mission longer than it's supposed to be. So you start off the mission, and you're driving the race car that Tony's driving, and you drive around, let's say, 3 laps. And once you get to the 3rd lap, it plays a cutscene where Whiplash comes in, he smashes the car in half, and then you see Tony, and he's trying to get away from Whiplash, and then you get to suit up in the Mark V. Happy throws him. Is it Happy? I think it's either Happy or Pepper, because they're both in the same car. And one of them throws the Mark V, and then you suit up in it. Now, I'm trying to think of who the character would be that you're with, because, of course, like I said, with every LEGO game, it seems that regardless of the movie or the story or whatever, you're always with a second person. So maybe it could be Happy or Pepper. It's hard to say, really. But I'm sure they could think of something, because this scene was really cool, and just being able to drive around that race course and then fight on it would be awesome. Alright, so the next idea I have for Iron Man 2 is just a quick one. Basically, it's the scene where you see Tony and Rhodey fighting in Stark Mansion. I just thought this was a really cool scene. I know it kind of cut away from what was going on in the story, but I just kind of liked it. I thought it was really cool. And it just shows Rhodey wearing the Mark II for once. That is pretty cool. And it also gives us a massive hint at what he becomes later, which is of course the War Machine. So I think this scene would be pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure they could do a lot of good stuff with it. Again, I'm not sure what the minifigure would be, because it would be a fight between Tony and Rhodey. So not entirely sure. I mean, maybe they could do what LEGO Star Wars 1 did, where you got to play, in LEGO Star Wars 1, in Revenge of the Sith, and the last mission, I think it was, you got to play as Anakin and Obi-Wan, and you actually got to help each other through the entire mission, and then once you got to the end, you could fight each other, but you could swap at any time, so you could have Anakin fight Obi-Wan, or Obi-Wan fight Anakin. I think it was the same ending either way, but it was just still pretty cool. You could root for the other side, so if I want, I should be able to, play as Rhodey and be able to fight Tony instead. That would be pretty cool. I mean, I'm not sure if they'll do it, but it would be awesome. Alright, so last but not least for Iron Man 2, we have this scene, and it is probably one of the coolest scenes in the movie. Even if you don't like Iron Man 2, I'm sure you love this scene, because it's the part where we see Iron Man and War Machine working together to defeat the Hammer drones. it's like watching the comics come to life, because of course we see in the comics, we see Rhodey and Tony always working together, always fighting together, best friends, and it's just so cool. So being able to see that in game would just be really nice. And of course, once you defeated all the hammer drones, you actually have to fight Whiplash. Now, Whiplash in the movie, he's not really wearing a suit, is he? It's basically just like arc reactor technology running through this thing, but then at the end of the movie we actually see him in this really cool looking suit. So I think, again, this would be a great excuse to add that as a suit in game, or even better, being able to suit up in it. I know I'm obsessed with that idea, but suit ups are awesome. Every time I see it in a movie, it's just so cool, and I really hope to see them in game because it'd just be great. Next up, we have, of course, Thor. Now, I've heard quite a few people don't really like this movie, or at least think it's okay. I like it. I think it's a really entertaining movie, and I would definitely watch it again. You know, it's a good movie. Now, thinking of, like, an idea for this actual movie, like, what would work for a mission in LEGO Marvels Avengers, the main thing I thought of, because the best scene for me was the part where Thor, Loki, and etc., you know, all the guys, and Sif, they all go to Jotunheim, I think it is, to tell the Frost Giants, you know, to leave Asgard alone. Because I think before that, the reason they go is because the Frost Giants invade Asgard when you know, there's the whole scene at the beginning. I think that's why they're doing it. So it'd be really cool if you actually get to play through that sequence where there's a little cutscene, Thor tells them to stay away from Asgard, and then they, you know, say something to him, and it just makes him snap, and he just starts fighting all these giant frost giants and everything. That would just be really cool. So hopefully they can do that. You could also, you know, do the scene at the end with Loki fighting Thor. That could work, I guess. But to be honest, I think this was one of the coolest scenes in the film, and it would be the most action-packed. And they did do something similar in LEGO Marvel Superheroes, I think. There was a mission, it was a side mission, where you got to play as Loki and Thor, and I think Heimdall was captured by Malekith, and I think you actually had to go in and stop Malekith and then rescue Heimdall. So they have kind of done a mission like that before, and we have seen missions in Asgard, so I think it'd be great to see more stuff like that in LEGO Marvel's Avengers. Alright, so last but not least is, of course, Captain America, the First Avenger. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, what about the Avengers? You know, that's the last Phase 1 movie. Well, I'm not going to be covering the Avengers because it's already been confirmed, of course, that LEGO Marvel's Avengers story is you get to play through the first Avengers and Age of Ultron and more, which they're not talking about yet. So, you know, the reason I'm doing this video as an idea video is because, you know, we don't know if you get to do this. This is just basically a tease that I think is from Arthur. That's what I think he's doing. I think he's teasing it. And also, it's a great idea for missions, you know. It'd just be so cool to get to play through all these movies. But anyway, let's talk about this movie in particular. So, Captain America the First Avenger, not the most highly rated MCU movie, I know, but I think it's a great origin story. It really helped explain to me how Captain America came to be in live action. I think it was very well done, and, you know, it doesn't have a lot of action as much as you would hope, like, say, Captain America the Winter Soldier, which is amazing, by the way, but it's still a really good origin story, and it really puts his place in the MCU, in my opinion. And it did a great job of bringing him into the real world as well, or I would say Avengers did. You know, they both did a really good job of bringing Captain America into modern day. So basically, for this mission, I think personally my favourite scene in the movie is where Cap takes it upon himself to go rescue the Howling Commandos along with Bucky. Bucky is there as well, of course. Now, he's actually told by Tommy Lee Jones not to do that, but he still does it. You know why? Because he's Captain America. He's heroic. He's a hero. That's why he's Captain America, and that's why he's awesome. And so I think this would be a really cool, you know, to actually be able to replay through this in the game. I just really like that. Now, I know some people might think, I think there's a montage part of the movie where it's like Cap and the Howling Commandos, and Cap's like actually in a proper costume, and he has the vibranium shield, and he's going around and he's fighting all the Hydra agents. That would be really cool. You know, don't get me wrong, those would all be really nice to see. But I would just rather see this scene, because this scene was just really cool, and it gives you a great excuse to unlock a second variant of the Winter Soldier, because I really hope he's in the game. And then, of course, you know, you would hover over the character selection screen, and then it'd be World War II Bucky. You know, just adding that type of variety would be really nice. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for this video. I mean, I'll probably do a phase 2 video as well, because this was a lot of fun to make, and it was great to actually finally be able to share some ideas I have for this game, because like I said, I've been wanting to do a video on this for a while now, so it's really nice to, finally be able to share some ideas. And hopefully you guys have some ideas of your own that I may not have even thought about yet, because I would love to see it. I think one of the great things about TT Games is fan feedback, and the thing is, they always listen. I always say this: you ask for a character 1 week, and then next month, for all you know, he might be in the game. Not always, of course, you can't guarantee everything, but TT Games are a very loyal developer in my opinion, and really, they always make a lot of the ideas you want to see in a game come true, so I'm sure they'll do the exact same with LEGO Marvels Avengers. Alright guys, so I want to thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for lots more news on LEGO Marvels Avengers, LEGO Jurassic World, and LEGO Dimensions. And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.